So that's the foundation upon which the Moorish Science Temple, led by Noble Drew Ali, seeks to build, right? And starts giving people more information about their identity. You're Moors. You're not Negro, black, and colored. And what is that? And then you go to the historical literature, be it dictionaries, art histories, straight up histories, artifacts that are showing you, hey, people who were misnamed Negroes, blacks, are actually the same people known as Moors, the illustrious and noble Moors who gave so much culture and civilization to Europe. And ultimately, from the perspective of Moorish science, even pointing out that the Moors were part of the continuum of ancient Kemetic knowledge, something that people say you can also find in the Masonic tradition. Fine, right? That's fine. You can find it in the Masonic tradition. That's probably why the Masons, when they become Shriners, wear the tarbush or the fez, because they understand that that's the foundation, that there's a Moorish connection. White, under Federal Directive number 15, included any of the original peoples of Europe, North Africa, or the Indian subcontinent, right? So you have folks who are not even part of Europe who are being classified as white. And then for black, it said any of the black racial groups of Africa. So if you're saying any of the black racial groups of Africa, you're using the same word black to define what it is. So you see how spurious that is. The Moorish movement of the 1910s and 20s clearly provided important historical leads for African Americans, or you could say Africans in the Americas, minus the negative distortions which predominated outside of the temple community. What do I mean? Most organizations that existed at the time were not teaching African people about ourselves. This is freaking 1920s, right? This is the 1920s when the Moorish movement is coming into play. And you have a place where you can learn about your historical origins and a nationality, a national origin. That wasn't happening in the NAACP. And even with someone as brilliant as Du Bois in his Crisis magazine, where he would write about certain things, the emphasis was not so much on teaching people about their nationality. Folks were just Negroes, right? So here's an African-American grassroots organization in the 1920s that's conveying this information to the rank and file for almost nothing. 50 cents. And a few other minor dues that people, basically, if you were trying to gain this knowledge in other organizations, you would have been paying significantly more, or you would have had to have gone to college or university, and even there you wouldn't be guaranteed to gain access to this information unless you had some very special teachers. But I also want to read one other quote that I brought up on my computer from the Chicago Defender from July 21st, 1928. It stated, in reference to the Moorish Science Temple of America, "This organization is playing a useful and definite part in advancing the sacred obligations of American citizenship." That's from the Chicago Defender, which was an African-American owned newspaper in Chicago, which had interviewed Noble Drew Ali and knew about his work, saw it as favorable, and promoted it. Now, a deeper issue has to do with what happened to turn that around, and that had to do with internal struggles within the movement, and then also external forces trying to pull it down. But essentially, to get a sense of really what the movement was about, just go to the literature. Go to the literature. One of my criticisms of people like C. Eric Lincoln, who was known as a great African-American theologian, was that when he focused on the Moorish Science temple, he dispenses with it as basically having no basis in historical fact, that Drew Ali was making stuff up, right? And then he goes on to even overemphasize the conflicts that the Moorish temple would have with the police at that time, right? So it's unfortunate. Now, again, you take responsible for what you are responsible for. So clearly you had some folks who were supposed to be in the movement and good Moors who were doing things that clearly were not good. But that doesn't detract from the value of what Noble Drew Ali actually brought and taught. And so I always encourage people, go to that literature and then determine whether you see something of value here or not. What the Prophet was doing, which included even getting the support of the governor of the state, other local officials as well, who even, sent him well wishes. The African-American Congressman Oscar DePriest was also a supporter. Some people say was even a member. I don't know. I can't speak to that because I don't know. I do know that he supported Noble Drew Ali and he supported the organization. And this idea of when the change comes, again, goes back to the internal issues that arose that I would say have to do, again, in part with external forces coming in to deliberately break it up, and then the individual weaknesses of individual members, which results in it getting off track, right? All those factors, which is, right, because as you said it, you said the Judas effect as one aspect. And what is should be apparent to anyone is that's not odd for any religious movement that first starts. There was conflict among the Muslims at the beginning, meaning, more specifically, those we recognize as the Orthodox, right? That's why you go from Sunni to Shia, right? Because of a rift. The early Christian community went off in different directions. I just mentioned there were adoptionists, there were Ebionites, there were Docetists, there were Gnostics, and then there's the Roman Catholic Church, which ultimately will come for all of them. And I don't mean, people are often shocked when they find out that the early Christian communities had leaders who were went to take out other Christians. Exactly, right? So don't just look to the Moorish Science and say, see, y'all, can that mean? No, you got the same thing. It's no different, right? It's across the board in different religions that are, if you will, getting off the ground, starting or initiating, a particular system of spiritual practice.